What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. Today, we are going to be doing a 2-round Dynasty rookie mock draft. This is for Superflex leagues, tight end premium type of format, PPR. You guys know the deal. And because the NFL draft is about 2 weeks away, I want to make sure that we get you guys some more information on these rookies. We got some more rookie content coming out over the next couple of weeks. Like I said, we are going to give you everything you need to know. And if on NFL draft night, you guys want to come hang out with me and the BDGE boys, we will be live streaming the draft over there on the BDGE Dynasty channel. So make sure you guys come over and check that out. We're going to be looking at Mel Kiper's 2-round mock. If you guys want to check out the full mock with trades and all of the things that is in it, go check that out in the description down below. But without wasting any more time, let's hop into today's video and let's start talking about the first round. Now, coming in at the 101, that's where we are going to draft Caleb Williams. He goes to the Chicago Bears, round 1, pick 1. This is kind of penciled in at this point. You guys know the deal with Caleb Williams. The best quarterback prospect in this class to me by far, a tier of his own. He's going to be going to Chicago where he throws to Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, potentially some other wide receivers. We've seen them rumored as a potential rookie wide receiver landing spot. DeAndre Swift there. This team is going to be very good. It's one of the best landing spots for a rookie quarterback, bar none. Caleb Williams is that good of a prospect. We don't have to overthink this. He's going to be our 101 in this type of format. Now, coming in at the 102, that's where we are going to draft Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver out of Ohio State. He goes to the Arizona Cardinals, round 1, pick 4. This is going to pair him with Kyler Murray moving forward. We know that Hollywood Brown has left in free agency. There is a major need for a wide receiver 1 in this offense. Obviously, Trey McBride was very good down the stretch, hyper targeted by Kyler Murray. You get a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr., he is going to be the number 1 option in this offense immediately. Michael Wilson on the other side of the field. Trey McBride obviously still going to be doing his thing across the middle, but this type of pick is going to ignite this Arizona offense moving forward. And Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. would probably be one of the best dynasty fantasy football stacks that you could have on your dynasty rosters for the foreseeable future. Now, coming in at the 103, that is where we're going back to the quarterback position, selecting Jayden Daniels out of LSU. He goes to the Washington Commanders. Round 1, pick 2 is the draft capital. And this seems like something that a lot of people have penciled in. I know that recently there have been some rumors of them maybe going Commander Maye, or maybe them even looking at JJ McCarthy. Now that I feel like is a little bit of a smokescreen. But Jayden Daniels, he would go here with Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn. And this is the type of offense that I think Jayden Daniels would kind of excel in. Obviously, we have seen Cliff Kingsbury have success with that rushing type of quarterback in Kyler Murray during the time that he spent in Arizona. I think Jayden Daniels would profile as a similar-ish quarterback, not necessarily the exact same, but he has similar traits. And so I think this would be a good fit for Jayden Daniels. And although the offensive line there is pretty bad and Jayden Daniels struggles a little bit under pressure, I think that's stuff that can be worked out hopefully at the NFL level. And you take a guy with this type of rushing upside here at the 103 in your rookie drafts, we know that's going to be worth its weight in gold. This is a high-end type of home run swing that you take in your rookie drafts here at the 103, and that's why we go Jayden Daniels to the Commanders. Now at the 104, we're going to keep going to that quarterback position. This is where we take Drake Maye out of UNC. He goes to the New England Patriots here in this mock draft, round 1, pick 3. So the Patriots, they pick a quarterback of the future, and there is not a lot to love about the landing spot here in New England, because when you look at the weapons around, Demario Douglas, Juju Smith-Schuster, Hunter Henry, these are kind of the guys that we're looking at. I guess you could even say that Ramondre Stevenson is one of the receiving weapons at this point. It just doesn't really feel like there's a lot going on there in New England. And obviously a new coaching staff, Bill Belichick no longer there. This feels like it is going to be a project to get a team around Drake Maye. And I know that we've seen guys like CJ Stroud went to the Houston Texans where we didn't necessarily think that was a great landing spot, but the player elevated the landing spot, the type of talent that was there, thus making it a better landing spot for the future. Is Drake Maye going to be that guy? I don't know. I really do believe in Drake Maye as a talent. I think he's a good quarterback, but something about this landing spot feels worse to me this year than it felt for CJ Stroud going to the Houston Texans last year. Either way, we are going to take the value of the quarterback position. It is worth its weight in gold in Superflex leagues, and so that's why we are going to be taking Drake Maye here at the 104. Now moving on to the 105, here is where we're going back to the wide receiver position, a strong point in this class. We are selecting Malik Nabers, wide receiver out of LSU. He goes to the New York Giants here, round 1, pick 6. So Malik Nabers instantly going into that New York Giants offense. He would be by far the best weapon that they have here in New York, and it wouldn't necessarily be close. Malik Nabers would probably find himself into 125, 130 plus targets as a rookie, and if he does get that, we know what he can do after the catch. He's a big play waiting to happen. they're going to have to scheme him open. And obviously, there's going to be some questions about the long-term quarterback. Is it going to be Daniel Jones? Is it potentially going to be another guy in the future? Those questions are going to have to be heard. But we've seen guys like Drake London, who are very talented players, not necessarily have the quarterback to start their future. And what do you know, a couple years down the line, the situation changes. And now look at how we are viewing Drake London in Dynasty leagues. He is a top 12 wide receiver for most in their Dynasty rankings. I think a similar situation could happen with Malik Nabers. Trust the talent. Don't fade the landing spot. Malik Nabers comes off the board for us here at the 105. Now at the 106, we're going to stay within that big three. There's a big three wide receivers in this class. We're not going to step away from that. Rome Odunze goes to the Chicago Bears, wide receiver out of Washington. Round 1, pick 9 is the draft capital. And I've seen some people say that this type of pick gives them JSN vibes. I mean, you get Rome Odunze going into a situation with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. Is that similar to DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett? Probably, to be honest. The only difference for me is that Caleb Williams is a more talented player than Geno Smith. And then also Rome Odunze is a more talented player than Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think he is a more talented prospect coming out, a guy that can run a full route tree, play that true X type of wide receiver. And we know that Keenan Allen and DJ Moore are not necessarily those X alpha type of wide receivers. This is a situation where, yes, year one may be a little bit underwhelming because of a crowded wide receiver room, but Rome Odunze is the guy moving forward. You pair Odunze with Caleb Williams. This is another stack. Like I mentioned with the Marvin Harrison and the Kyler Murray stack, you want this one moving forward. Rome Odunze is going to ball out in Chicago, and he comes off the board for us here at that 106. Now coming in at the 107, that's where we're going back to the quarterback position, and probably the first shocker because I think a lot of people want to pencil in Brock Bowers as the 107 in rookie drafts, but I'm going JJ McCarthy. He was drafted round 1, pick 5 after the Minnesota Vikings moved up and selected him. And I mentioned how good of a landing spot that landing spot is in Chicago. The Minnesota Vikings landing spot is probably just as good, maybe even better. They have two bookend tackles in Brian O'Neill and Christian Darrisaw. You have Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in football, TJ Hawkinson, and Jordan Addison. And then in free agency, they also get Aaron Jones. Obviously, Ty Chandler still a backup. There is a lot to like in this offense. And obviously, the coaching staff, the scheme that they have stems from that Sean McVay coaching tree. Very quarterback-friendly type of offenses. And I don't necessarily think that J.J. McCarthy is the most talented quarterback in this class, but I think that this is the perfect fit for J.J. McCarthy to find success at the next level. Now, if J.J. were to go to pretty much any other landing spot that wasn't from a Sean McVay coaching tree, I think there truly would be an argument for Brock Bowers to go ahead of him. But with the value of the quarterback position and this perfect fit for J.J. McCarthy, this feels like a very high-end type of swing, and I'm more than happy to do this in my Superflex leagues. J.J. McCarthy coming off the board for us at the 107. Now at the 108, we are going to be selecting Brock Bowers, tight end out of Georgia. He goes to the New York Jets. Round 1, pick 10 is the draft capital. And I know that there have been some rumors about, well, this may not be the best landing spot for Brock Bowers because Aaron Rodgers historically has not thrown to the tight end position. But when you look at this offense moving forward, who really is the receiving options outside of Garrett Wilson? Yes, they signed Mike Williams this year, but how good is this player going to be coming off of an ACL at this point of his career? Obviously, a little bit older and a different type of wide receiver as well. I think Brock Bowers could be the number 2 receiving option in this offense right away. And even though Aaron Rodgers hasn't done it in the past, I don't know if he's had a tight end as talented as Brock Bowers has been. This guy is special after the catch. He can do a lot with the football in his hands. He can run a full route tree. You can use him out of the backfield. He is just a Swiss Army knife type of weapon for your offense, and that is very unique at the tight end position. Obviously, we talked about at the very beginning, this is a tight end premium. Brock Bowers probably still goes this type of draft capital even if you are not in a tight end premium league. He's going to be coming off the board for us here at the 108, and I don't think we should be fading this New York Jets landing spot. And now coming off the board for us here at the 109, that is where we're going to be selecting Brian Thomas Jr., and he gets a hell of a landing spot with the Buffalo Bills. Round 1, pick 28. We obviously know the recent trade of Stephon Diggs to the Houston Texans. That opens up a load of opportunity in this wide receiver room because the best wide receiver in this room right now is free agent Curtis Samuel, who has no type of rapport with Josh Allen so far. So it's basically a bunch of new guys coming in right now. Obviously, guys like Khalil Shakir and things like that are still going to be there. But Brian Thomas Jr., he is going to profile as the number 1 wide receiver in this offense right away. And I don't think Brian Thomas Jr. is fully developed to be an elite wide receiver at the NFL level right now, but that is definitely something that they can do and work on in Buffalo. I hope that they don't have to lean on him too much right away because I think that could be a little bit worrisome for Brian Thomas Jr., but who knows? Pressure makes diamonds, and maybe we found a diamond in Brian Thomas Jr. right here, especially because the opportunity that he's going to get day 1 is going to be second to none. That's why he comes off the board for us here at the 109. And now coming in at the 110, here's where we are going to go with the first running back and the only running back drafted in this mock draft by Mel Kiper. Jonathan Brooks goes to the Dallas Cowboys. He gets round 2, pick 56 draft capital, and we obviously know that the Dallas Cowboys have a need at the running back position. Right now, there's nobody in this backfield that is projected to be that bell cow type of running back. Jonathan Brooks, obviously coming off of the ACL, is probably going to need a little bit of time, but this landing spot is one of the probably 2 landing spots where whichever rookie goes to this landing spot is going to be pushed into the late first round, maybe early second round of mock drafts right away. It's the Cowboys and the Chargers, and the Cowboys right now going with Jonathan Brooks in the second round tells you everything you need to know about this position. Brooks has 3 down back potential. He can do it all. And in a class that lacks a lot of running back talent that could potentially be difference makers for our Dynasty Fantasy Football rosters, Jonathan Brooks is going to see an increase in his value, thus making him a late first round pick for us in our rookie drafts. So full disclosure, in that Mel Kiper mock, there was 23 Dynasty relevant players being drafted in those first 2 rounds. So we don't have enough to make this 24 players for a 12-team league. So I skewed it to 10 teams, but we will go through the second round right now. So that concludes our first round. We're moving on to the 201 in this mock draft. And if 10 team grosses you out, I understand. Just skew it into your mind. Keep in mind that these next 2 players will probably be the end of the first round of your rookie mocks in those 12-man leagues. Let's start off with the 201. Adonai Mitchell is the player that we are going to be drafting. He's out of Texas, going to the Detroit Lions in this mock draft. Round 1 draft capital, pick 29. Adonai Mitchell got a bunch of buzz after the NFL Combine. Obviously, he tested very well. And then he was obviously getting film comparisons to shades of CeeDee Lamb and some of these other big-name wide receivers. And Adonai Mitchell is a beast when you look at the film. This type of landing spot for him, putting him alongside Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams, obviously this tells us that the Detroit Lions don't love what they've gotten out of Jameson Williams so far. They're looking for another pass catcher, and Adonai Mitchell would have an opportunity to be the number 2 wide receiver in this offense right away. Now, whether he's going to be the number 2 option or the number 3 option is still up for debate. I think Sam Laporta has earned the right to call himself the number 2 receiving threat in this offense so far. But man, this is just a swing for the Detroit Lions because you put him in this offense with Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, all these other guys. They're going to try and win a division. They're going to try and capitalize on a championship window that they could potentially be in here in Detroit. Adonai would profile as the X wide receiver in this offense, and I like the draft capital. I like the player. For me, after the big 3, he is in that next tier of wide receivers, and that's why we're going to select him here as the 11th player off the board at the 201 after going to the Detroit Lions. Now, at the 202, the 12th player off this board is going to be Xavier Worthy, who goes to the Chargers. So we've talked about both of these Texas wide receivers. Worthy got better draft capital than Adonai. He goes round 1, pick 23, and talk about opportunity. I would definitely hear an argument if you wanted to put Worthy above Adonai Mitchell in this mock draft, because Worthy is going into a situation where the best wide receiver is Quentin Johnston, and that does not say a lot for what they have as talent in that wide receiver room there in Los Angeles. Getting the draft capital obviously checks the box. The speed, obviously uncanny. There is no debating the speed that Xavier Worthy plays with, and then the opportunity would be there as well. I think Xavier Worthy being the number 1 wide receiver for Justin Herbert in an offense that has mentioned that they want to be a little bit more run heavy. I think there's some questions still about the prospect profile, but the opportunity is second to none. Give me Xavier Worthy here at the 202 after going to the Los Angeles Chargers. Now coming off the board for us here at the 203, here's where Xavier Legette is going to go, and this landing spot here is jumping him up a tier from where I have him in my rankings right now. He goes to the Kansas City Chiefs in the first round. So this is a recipe for an increase in value for sure. First round draft capital out of Legette, going to the Kansas City Chiefs, and putting him here in this offense with Patrick Mahomes for the foreseeable future. That is definitely something that we need to react to, and I don't necessarily agree in letting landing spots change players in tiers, but the draft capital in the landing spot here, I think I'm willing to make an exception. So Xavier Legette, you put him here, and I think that the ceiling is going to be sky high. They can use him in the red zone. They can use him in a whole bunch of different ways. Xavier Legette, he is the 203 for us here after going to Kansas City. Now at the 204, we are going to be drafting Lad McConkey. He goes to the Carolina Panthers, wide receiver coming out of Georgia. He gets round 2 draft capital. Pick 39 is the selection. Lad McConkey is the perfect wide receiver, I think, for this type of offense. And honestly, he kind of profiles similarly to Diontae Johnson, in my opinion. But what that means is this is going to be a guy who's going to be able to get open. And we know that this Carolina Panthers offense is going to need weapons. Diontae Johnson Ladd McConkey, and Bryce Young. These are the pieces of the future for the Carolina Panthers, and I think that there's an opportunity for Ladd McConkey to see 100 plus targets as a rookie. I think he is the perfect fit for this offense. I think he can be a security blanket for Bryce Young, and in your PPR leagues, he is going to have some value right away year one as a rookie. It's still going to be seen what the ceiling is for Ladd McConkey. Obviously, the production at Georgia wasn't fantastic, but the tape tells me everything that I need to know. This guy can win at all levels. He's an elite route runner and a guy that I really like in this class, and that's why I'm having him come off the board for me here at the 204. Now, moving on to the 205, that is where I'm going to select Troy Franklin, wide receiver out of Oregon. He goes to the Indianapolis Colts here. Round 2, pick 46 is the draft capital, and probably a little bit more of a crowded offense than some people think. You still have Michael Pittman Jr., Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, Jonathan Taylor. These are kind of the pieces around him, but I do think that Troy Franklin would profile as a better deep threat than what Alec Pierce has been, and honestly a much better deep threat. I think Troy Franklin could be the number 2, maybe number 3 wide receiver in this offense, depending on Josh Downs' role. I think he's more of a slot type of possession receiver in this offense. Obviously, Michael Pittman Jr. is the one, but this might be a better situation for Troy Franklin because he's not going to be relied on to be that alpha, that number 1 type of wide receiver right away. And although I don't even know if he's necessarily going to ever be a number 1 type of alpha wide receiver, I think Troy Franklin still has a lot of talented traits, and I think he's a player that is going to have value in your Dynasty Fantasy Football leagues in the right situation. This feels like the right situation to me. Pair him with Anthony Richardson for the future, and I will be selecting him here at the 205. Now at the 206, we are going to be selecting Bo Nix, and he goes to the New York Giants. They trade up in the second round. They go get Bo Nix as their quarterback of the future, and so now we kind of have a conversation. We kind of have a competition here in New York. Is it Daniel Jones or is it Bo Nix? What happens there? And obviously we know that they just drafted Malik Nabers. So yes, there is some things to be excited about in New York. I don't know if Bo Nix is the most exciting quarterback, but hey, if he is accurate at the NFL level, which has been the bread and butter for Bo Nix in his college career, I don't think you can ask for anything more as somebody who has drafted Malik Nabers. And outside of Marvin Harrison Jr., I don't think Bo Nix could ask for a better pairing out of these rookies with Malik Nabers. You may have to wait some time because I do think that they would give Daniel Jones the shot right away, but that leash does seem like it's going to be a little bit shorter. Bo Nix could be on his way as the starting quarterback of the New York Giants, and if you can find a quarterback similar to Will Levis who is going to find his way into a starting role, eventually that type of value is going to pay off and it's going to be worth it in the long run. Give me Bo Nix here at the 206 in my Superflex leagues. And sticking at the quarterback position here at the 207, why don't we select Michael Penix Jr.? He comes out of Washington, goes to the Los Angeles Rams. Round 2, pick 37 is the draft capital, and this is a little bit crazy, Mel. Mel, you getting ahead of yourself, I think, but hey, he says that the Los Angeles Rams have to go out and find their quarterback of the future. He says it's going to be the second round, Michael Penix Jr. I obviously just talked about Bo Nix probably having to wait a little bit. That is probably going to be even longer for Michael Penix Jr. We know that Matthew Stafford, as long as he is healthy, he is the starting quarterback of this team. But Penix, maybe this could be a situation where he does get to sit for a year or two, kind of similar to what Jordan Love did, and maybe Michael Penix finds some value later in the future. This is more of a long-term bet, a long-term gamble than I think any other player is in these first 2 rounds. But when you think of Michael Penix Jr. long-term, potentially being paired with Puka Nacua for the future, I definitely think that there's worse bets to gamble on than right here at the 207 in our Superflex drafts, and that's why I'm going to select Michael Penix Jr. of the Los Angeles Rams. Now at the 208, we're going back to the wide receiver position. Keon Coleman, wide receiver out of Florida State. He goes to the New England Patriots, round 2, pick 34. So yes, they get Drake Maye. Yes, they get Keon Coleman. And now Keon Coleman is not my favorite wide receiver in this class by far. This is a guy who has really struggled to win and find success as a route runner, and I think that is probably going to be problematic to his NFL career. Obviously, we know in the NFL, you have to win as a route runner in order to be successful. But Keon Coleman, he's going into an opportunity here where he is going to be the number 1 wide receiver almost immediately, and he gets to play with rookie quarterback Drake Maye. Drake Maye has a cannon of an arm. He has a very talented arm. Keon Coleman has a massive catch radius, and he is going to be super athletic. There's probably going to be a lot of highlights between these two. What that fantasy football ceiling is going to look like, I'm not sure, but I'm just not the biggest Keon Coleman fan, so I am going to have him here at my 208. And now at my 209, we are going to select Malachi Corley. He's out of Western Kentucky, goes to the New Orleans Saints, round 2, pick 45. We know the Saints, they need some more receiving options. Right now, Derek Carr has Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. Michael Thomas is an unrestricted free agent. They just lack some weapons here in New Orleans, and Malachi Corley is the ultimate weapon in this draft class. He is a guy that can be used pretty much everywhere. You can get very creative with him, and although I don't know if Dennis Allen and his staff are the most creative play callers for a guy like this in their offense, it's hard to knock the talent of Malachi Corley and the opportunity that Malachi Corley could have this year. I think this is a high upside play for us, and a guy that I am just willing to take a gamble on at this point. You see shades of Jayden Reed, you see shades of Deebo Samuel, those types of players, maybe even a Curtis Samuel. If he finds success at the NFL level, he is almost certainly to be a very versatile weapon for our dynasty rosters, so I'm going to select him here at the 209. And like I said, Mel Kiper didn't have enough fantasy relevant players to go a full 12 team for 2 rounds, so the 210 last pick in the draft for us, it is going to be wide receiver Rickey Pearsall. He's coming out of Florida. He goes round 2, pick 38 to the Tennessee Titans, and this is a solid landing spot, and I think people look at the Tennessee Titans and they say, they haven't historically been a good landing spot over the last couple of years for these fantasy football wide receivers. Obviously, they had the Treylon Burks experiment. It didn't necessarily pan out. Some people got excited about Kyle Phillips for a year or two. That didn't pan out. And even when you look back at A.J. Brown, he was the best of the players, but his best years were in Philadelphia. They were not in Tennessee. But Rickey Pearsall, a guy who I think can play a big slot type of role, a guy who is going to be playing in an offense that already has 2 outside wide receivers, Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins. Chigakonko obviously across the middle at the tight end position. This feels like a solid match for Rickey Pearsall and a guy who I think Will Levis can lean on as he tries to take that step forward and that jump in this offense this year. Under Brian Callahan, obviously coming from that Bengals offense, a new look Titans is on the way, and Rickey Pearsall is the next wide receiver they're going to be taking a gamble on, and that's why I'm going to be taking a gamble on him for my dynasty teams here at the 210. Now that is all we have for you guys today. If you did enjoy the video, go ahead and hit that like button. It is the best free way to show this channel some support. Also, make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel. Also, hit that notification bell. We just passed our recent goal of 1,500 subscribers. That was our goal before the NFL draft. You guys help us smash that type of goal. So now it's on to 2K. Road to 2K, baby. We're going to get there. Want to see you guys here along the way. And last but not least, make sure you guys are a member of our Discord. We do have a free Discord linked in the description. If you join that, you can help with trade review shows, mock drafts in the future, and you have direct access to ask me any Dynasty Fantasy Football questions you may have. And like I said, it's free to join, so there is no risk in doing that. With all of those things out of the way, I will see you guys on our next video. Until then, peace out.